Let's talk about fundraising. For so many founders, it feels like this overwhelming, confusing black box. You hear all this vague advice, right? Get intros, build a list. But come on, that's not a real strategy. So today, we're going to completely change that. We're going to transform all that chaos into a clear, guided process, a playbook that actually helps you fundraise without all the guesswork.
Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to crack open that fundraising black box and see exactly why so many of us struggle. Then we'll dive into the 3 core hunts of our playbook: looking for past intent, catching present signals, and building future relationships. And you'll want to stick around because at the end, we'll see how this all comes together to give you a serious advantage.
All right, let's kick things off with a feeling I bet is super familiar: that sheer frustration with the old school way of doing things. You know the drill. The traditional playbook says to just download some massive list of VCs, blast out hundreds of cold emails, and just hope for the best. This is what we call spray and pray. And honestly, it's a perfect recipe for burning yourself out and annoying a lot of people along the way.
And just how bad is it? Well, get this. The typical success rate for that kind of cold outreach is less than 1%. I mean, think about that. That's a staggering amount of work for basically nothing. The system is just broken. So why does it fail so miserably? Well, it ignores 3 fundamental truths. It kind of assumes all investors are the same, but in reality, only a tiny fraction are ever going to be a good fit. It also assumes their interest is just there. It's not. It comes in these quick waves you have to catch. And maybe most important of all, it treats fundraising like a single transaction, when the best deals, the real deals, are always built on relationships that started months, sometimes even years before.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's definitely not about working harder, it's about working smarter. So let's dive into a playbook that actually does that.
Our whole playbook is built around 3 strategic hunts. First, we're going to hunt for intent, and that means following the money. Next, we'll hunt for signals, which is all about catching investors right at their moment of peak curiosity. And finally, we'll play the long game by hunting for relationships, building that kind of compounding trust that really makes deals happen.
All right, first up, hunting for past intent. You know, the best predictor of what someone will do in the future is what they've done in the past. So instead of starting from zero, we're going to look at where investors have already put their money.
Intent hunting is pretty simple, really. It just means you stop trying to convince the skeptics. Instead, you focus all your energy on investors who are already halfway there because they've invested in your space before. They get it. They've got the expertise, the conviction, and frankly, the incentive to see your whole ecosystem thrive.
But here's a really crucial distinction, so listen up. You can't just look for investors in your exact space. If they've already funded your number 1 rival, that door is probably shut. It's a dead end. The magic, the sweet spot, is finding investors who've backed complementary companies. So if they've invested in, say, an infrastructure layer that you build on top of, you're not a threat, you're a portfolio enhancer. You actually make their other bets more valuable.
Okay, so we've looked at the past to find intent. Now let's bring it to the present moment with our second hunt, catching signals.
You know, investors are constantly talking. They're dropping all these little hints about what they're thinking about, what they're excited about. These signals, a tweet, a blog post, a podcast interview, they're like public breadcrumbs. They're these little windows into an investor's curiosity. But here's the thing. These windows have a very short shelf life. And this shows you just how urgent it is. The second that signal drops, a clock starts ticking. You've got this critical 24 to 48-hour window where their curiosity about that topic is at its absolute peak. You wait any longer, and their attention has moved on. Your email just becomes more noise in their inbox.
So, what does this mean? It means you need to have a rapid response playbook ready to go. You spot a signal, you move fast. Reference their content directly. Offer them something of immediate value, like a demo link or a killer metric, and you have got to get it in front of them within that 48-hour window. That's how you capitalize on that peak interest.
So intent covers the past. Signals cover the present. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the playbook, relationships. This is all about building for the future, because let me tell you, the best fundraising rounds are won long before they ever officially start.
This is a massive mindset shift. You have to move away from these transactional one-off asks. The real goal is to build an authentic network of allies over time. It's all about creating a dialogue, providing value during those quiet months when you're not asking for anything, so that when you do need capital, it flows through these pre-existing lines of trust.
And this isn't just random luck. It's a system. You can follow a clear rhythm. Like a year out, you start reaching out just to learn. 9 months out, you start sending short, simple progress updates. 6 months out,
You deepen that connection by asking for specific feedback. And then, about 3 months before you raise, you start signaling your plans to a network that's already warm and ready to listen.
Okay, let's put it all together. Let's see how these 3 hunts combine to create a really powerful, almost unfair advantage for you.
And this is where it all just clicks. Each hunt covers a different blind spot. Hunting for past intent gives you a super high-quality list to even start with. Hunting for present signals tells you who on that list you need to contact right now. And building future relationships makes sure that when you do reach out, it's a warm conversation, not just another cold email.
And here's the payoff. You finally stop pitching harder and you start pitching smarter. You're no longer wasting your time and energy on investors who are never going to be a fit anyway. Instead, you're engaging the right people at the absolute perfect time, and you're leveraging trust that you've already built. This creates a durable network that helps you again and again, round after round.
This is exactly what separates you from all the noise out there. In a process where pretty much every other founder is just guessing, you have a system. That is your unfair advantage.
And look, if there is one single idea you take away from this entire explainer, let it be this fundamental shift in your mindset. Your job as a founder is not to convert skeptics into believers. Your job is to find the people who already believe in what you're doing and just show them that you're the right person to bet on. So, that leaves us with one last question to guide your strategy from this day forward. I want you to take a hard look at your process. Are you spending your precious time targeting believers who are already primed to listen? Or are you still out there trying to convert the skeptics? The answer to that question? Well, it's going to change everything.